In today's episode, we spotlight Brian Mermelstein, a creative storyteller whose journey from a high school media credential to creating his own media company, BM Media. Brian shares his insights on making horse racing more accessible and engaging, drawing from his unique experiences and passion for sports. Tune in to hear how personal stories and innovative ideas can transform casual fans into lifelong enthusiasts.
First Rodeo Radio, where the race begins. The homies have reached the starting gate, and they're off.
Welcome to another episode of First Rodeo Radio. Today we are joined by none other than Brian Mermelstein. What's going on, brother?
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's all mine, brother. Pleasure's all mine. Hope I didn't botch the pronunciation right after you
No,
told me
it's
I
all
pronunciated it. I'm sure you probably get that a lot of like how you
Yeah,
pronounce it.
100%, 100%.
I definitely have a unique scenario. I think I've only had my last name mispronounced one time, and it was JV basketball tryout sophomore year of high school.
What do you do? Skull?
He's Shull. I
Skull?
was like, bro, there's no
Shoal?
H in there. That's not even
No,
close.
no H.
But yeah, no, I'm super happy to have you. It's actually been a ton of fun getting prepped for this. We crossed paths in the Virginia Derby, seeing all the great stuff you're putting out on your socials. Figured we'd grab you. I think you're super impressive. Your resume kind of speaks for yourself. I guess like to start, the way I usually like to do it is kind of flip the script and be like, all right, we just got in an Uber. We're heading back from, a sporting event. Uber turns back, goes, oh, like what were you doing at XYZ event? How do you kind of explain like what you do?
Yeah, so I'm the owner of BM Media LLC. I'm a one-man band specializing in live content operations and long-form storytelling production. So I've done some stuff in the golf world, some stuff in horse racing. I do a lot in basketball as well, based in Philadelphia. And I do everything from the Kentucky Derby down to headshot sessions at your local Pilates studio and everything in between. So yeah, man, it's a ton of fun. I think I consider myself a creative, so it's I kind of just, figure it out as I go on my creative journey.
Love it. I think it's super impressive. I think you're about like 25, right?
Yep.
Somewhat still like a recent graduate of Temple, which is super
Yep.
impressive. I guess take me into the starting of BM Media. Kind of what sparked the desire to kind of go out on your own there?
Yeah, I mean, I had interned at Churchill Downs for the Derby um a couple years in college and had a job at Lapstone and Hammer, a local sneaker boutique here, which was fine. And then, I had some other opportunities come up, and after that I was like, you know what? Like, I had already been doing a lot of freelancing, but I didn't really consider it freelancing. I just considered it like what I was doing in college when I wasn't working in athletics. And I was like, you know what? I have enough connections. I think I have enough talent. I have enough skill. Like, let's see what we can do and see if we can make ends meet. And at the beginning it was tough. It's still tough being a freelancer because some months are better than others and some seasons are better than others. But slowly but surely, by virtue of networking and word of mouth, it's, been a pleasure to continue to make connections and get new work and work with new clients, and also get some recurring work with some clients, which obviously speaks to those relationships and the people that I've met along the way. So yeah, starting it knowing that you have some people that you can count on a couple times a year is great. And building it up has been a lot of fun. So uh, doors not closed to going back in somewhere full time, but I think right now in my life I'm happy as a freelancer based out of Philly.
Oh yeah. Take me through it. The first few contracts you kind of had to negotiate through. What's kind of like going through your head?
Yeah, it's, I won't say I still don't, but like the first 2 years, no contracts. It was like, hey, let's do it. Here's the price. Kind of just pulled a price out of nowhere and we just started doing it. And, I think people want you based on what you've done for others in the past. So it's less about like, hey, we have this project in mind. Like, we want you to do it. It's more of like, hey, we saw what you did here. We really want you to do that here. name your price. And then that price kind of, started to get a little higher as we kept getting more experience, in all the industries that I've been in. But yeah, it's really, there's a bit of an imposter syndrome at the beginning where you're like, am I good enough? Can I charge this much? But once you get over that hump, it is, the train's rolling down the tracks. So you just, you hope, you throw out the number, you hope that they are in the same ballpark and you go from there. But it's been good. I've always kind of been a salesy type my whole life, so I think it hasn't been the hardest part of business. Just kind of just get me in the door, and I'll try to close the deal.
100%. I think, like you said, once you've kind of got like a resume behind you and like some work to show off, it kind of speaks for itself and it kind of shows the talent that you got and kind of everything that you're doing there. I guess. Do you have any grandiose visions for what BM Media can turn into? Like, is there, an agency that you're modeling yourself after? Or are you kind of just hoping to carve out a nice niche for yourself, or are you kind of just figuring out how things go as they come up?
We're taking it one day at a time. Um, I think being a one man band is exciting for right now. I don't like the idea of like other people's food on other people's tables relying on me. Like I already have to rely on putting food on my table. But I do love working with contractors and I contract stuff out a lot. We build a team for a lot of the events that I do. I'm usually not a one man band. And it's really awesome to get to work with friends and get to work with people that I came up with at Temple and get them in the mix, or people that I've connected with along this journey and including them in what I have going on. But I think for right now, it's taking it one day at a time and carving out, like you said, kind of carving out my niche in these industries, whether it's horse racing, whether it's golf, whether it's basketball, and kind of just seeing where I fit in. Uh, I like being nimble as a smaller, either it's me or it's me and another. When you get into the big agency world, it kind of gets a little muddled with, you know, what do you mean the price is this much? And what do you mean? Like it kind of gets a lot more strict and like stringent when you get up there. So I kind of like the size I'm at right now, but always room to grow. I think, a couple years down the line, maybe it doesn't look this way, but right now I'm charting the course in the in its current form, and we'll see where we end up in a few years.
Oh yeah. I think while I was prepping for this, it was kind of cool. You kind of talked through what kind of got you started, and I think we must have been very similar guys in high school, because I at one point was calling some hockey games for like my local high school. I had some buddies on the hockey team, and I would just call it over. At that time we just started like a little like school radio, and I was the play-by-play announcer for hockey, which you find out very fast that is a very, very hard sport to call. So take me through kind of your high school days and what kind of landed you to have the camera in your hand.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a broadcaster. I thought I was a really good broadcaster, frankly. Went on a run, Upper Dublin High School, shout out Flying Cardinals. We won, or our girls won a state championship, went on that run, girls basketball, I should say. My junior year of high school, called every game, live streamed, had like 500 listeners every game. Like we had a real thing going for us. And at that time, the three kids that founded our club or the broadcasting club at my school in 2006, one is now the radio voice of the Penguins. One is a, nighttime sports anchor in Green Bay. And the other one is the number two for the Chicago Cubs. So when I stepped into that in high school, I was like, well, I'm clearly in the right place because these guys figured it out. And my school has a really good track record of kids in media careers. But once you get into it and once you start doing it, you're like, well, if you want to be in the NBA calling games, there's 30 guys that have that job. If you want to be 30 guys and gals, if you want to be in the MLB, there's only so many jobs. It got to a point where once I picked up a camera, I was like, I think there's way more opportunity here for me to get in the doors I want to get in. And that was kind of the North Star. And then I enjoyed the creative side of it. And I enjoyed, sneaking around, getting my credentials and be in places I probably shouldn't have been. And I was really fortunate, both of my parents went to Temple, and I kind of knew I was always going to go to Temple. And they really hooked it up when I was in high school. They credentialed me for a couple games to shoot photos. So I had that relationship with the athletic department 2 years before I was on campus. And that ended up laying the groundwork for what was an awesome time at Temple, cutting my teeth in a college athletics department, which was an invaluable experience to what I have now. So, yeah, I wanted to be a broadcaster. Still think I could broadcast on the side, and I have done some broadcasting here or there, but honing in on production and video work mainly is kind of where I landed, and I'm very happy that I did.
Yeah, I think in today's world, I feel like it's a pretty invaluable skill. I feel like, I mean, like you said before, you're kind of natural salesy. Everything you do in life kind of comes down to sales, I believe. And then nowadays, like, you really can't grow without, having some sort of social media presence. Even it's very hard not to utilize it as a tool. So very invaluable. I think it's super interesting, like the sliding door moment of like getting the media credential in high school to shoot the Temple game. It's kind of funny how like those chance, opportunities really end up shaping kind of what you do in life.
Yeah, it's everything I've done has led to the next. Like it's kind of been this big Jenga game where it's never been like a total pivot where it's like, "Oh, I feel stuck. I'm going to go to completely start something else." Like everything I've done in my career has been built upon the thing before it, which I think has been invaluable in those relationships. And also, the same people that invested in me at 19 are still invested in me at 25 is like really, really cool and special that, while my skill set and my personality and my professionalism has changed since then, I'm still me. And I think it's been cool to once you're already in and once you're in the door, continuing to build upon that each and every year, every event, every gig. And as you know, in this industry and in this world, like referrals and word of mouth are so important. And you can't do anything if you have a excuse me, if you have a bad reputation.
You're good to curse on here.
Okay, okay.
If
You
you've
can't do
seen
anything.
any clips we've ever put out, like we're not suitable for work or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Well, you can't do anything with a bad reputation. So just making sure that like everyone you're keeping it above water and keeping it good, like that's been it for me. And getting to meet like so many cool people, like the most fun thing about this job and about what I do is like going to New Kent for the weekend and hanging out with you guys after Virginia Derby. And hopefully I'll see you for Arlington Million and, et cetera, et cetera. Like just, hanging out with people outside of work is almost just as gratifying as the work itself is.
Yeah, the people you meet definitely make everything in life sweeter. I think to that point, I think one thing that if someone's listening that kind of wants to emulate you or really any career they're kind of after is kind of grow where you're planted. I think, one thing that I really admire about the stuff that you put out is, I had no idea what the PCO was, had no idea what like the Rumpf Classic was. I think the your ability to kind of take what is a very local, like, basketball scene with those 2 events, and kind of push it out to, the world, I think is a super, super cool thing, and, you hear all the negative parts of, like, social media and, like, all this stuff, and that's one of the positive aspects, being able to kinda share people's stories, being able to share these local gems that happen, and, not only does it expose it to different people, but it also, I think, strengthens the communities tied to it because now it seems like a bigger, like, grandiose event. So maybe talk through a little bit of, the local Philly basketball scene that you've been part of there.
Yeah. Well, I think speaking to the greater point, like everything I've done has always been, I've always been like a journalist and always been a storyteller at heart. So like, the Catholic League, I'm not Catholic. I didn't go to Catholic school, but all I know is that in on a night in February, there's high school kids playing in front of a sold out crowd in West Philadelphia in one of the best sporting environments. And I've seen Churchill Downs, I've seen some other places in sports. Um, like it is one of the top sporting environments all in that you'll ever be in. So just like being infatuated by it and figuring out who to talk to, where to start, and kind of telling that story was really gratifying. But also, taking what I learn and what I've continued to learn from Kentucky Derby and from some of the other big events that I've worked, and applying those same principles to the stuff in Philly, whether it be the Rump or whether it be the PCL. And the same thing goes for, my work for the Pennsylvania Derby, my work for the Virginia Derby at Colonial, and kind of the same ideals of looking at, okay, here are the avid fans that are going to watch anything you put out about it. Here are the casual fans who know about it and they kind of care, and if they get served it on their algorithm, they'll probably watch. And then here are these people that know nothing about it, but for Virginia Derby, for Pennsylvania Derby, if you're a kid in their 20s and you like to casually gamble and casually have nightlife and casually go to sporting events, you're probably going to enjoy a $5 general admission ticket to Colonial Downs with 10,000 people there on a great day of racing. So it's just kind of leading the horse to water, not to make a horse pun here, but just giving the people what they want and letting them take it however they may, because you can't control how an audience is going to digest something. You can control how you present it to them. And I think whether it be my long form, mid to long form documentary work or my social work, it's a matter of identifying who we're going after and who we're trying to get it to primarily, and then just making sure that it is in a format that makes sense for those people. And I think, I just got off the phone with our friend Bella, and we're planning for Arlington Million Day, and we're like really breaking it down from the ground level. Like, okay, who is this for? Who cares? Who is going to be there, and using that as our North Star to make content and deliver the stuff in a way that makes sense for that audience. Like, you and your boys would watch it if you had to like stick an antenna out of your roof to get
Yeah.
it, right? But there are some people that wouldn't do that unless it was like spoon fed to them. So I think just like at its core, understanding how people interact with content and how people interact with the different industries has been like totally crucial to just figuring out the best medium to tell the story. I don't know if that answered your question, but I
It did.
felt
I
good
think
about
it
it.
did. I'm glad you went down that path, because it got my brain going for sure. And I guess when you're kind of plotting, kind of these paths, and all right, you kind of start in who is it for, kind of what format does that audience typically prefer? How do you kind of balance the shots that you want to capture for like the long form, like mid to long documentaries versus the more, punchy clips that you'll see, vertical on social media?
Well, it's similar in the fact that it's just telling the story in the most simple form. Like all the filler stuff in the long form is really just filler. Like, for my Derby piece, check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's on
It's
YouTube,
awesome.
Golden
Can't
Tempo,
confirm.
first to last, or last to first. But the story is the story. Like we get all the humans we need, we get all the interviews we need, we get all the horses we need. All the stuff to paint the story is just color. It's fans, it's mint juleps, it's hats, it's whatever. Like that stuff isn't as much as I want to say. It's like super intentional. It's really just like, you've been to Churchill on Derby Day. Like you point your camera, you're gonna get something colorful and awesome, and it's gonna capture like the moment. Um, but when I'm specifically doing social stuff, it's really just, again, like what's going to pop, what's going to catch people's eyes. People's attention spans are so short. So, like, honestly, one of my favorite clips that we did for Virginia Derby was that lady in the pink dress spinning in slow motion. And it was like, okay, this girl's smiling. She's wearing a very bright pink dress. And we put it to a good sound and she spun and it was like 5,000 views for that account was one of the bangers of the weekend. And it's just like, it's just that simple. But then you look at the other stuff, like the stuff we did with Riley after he won and with his hot walker. And, it's just really, having a knack for telling those stories and having a knack for like where to go. Like a lot of journalists, not don't have me taking a shot at horse journalism, but like it's not rocket science to go
Yeah.
back to the barn with the winning horse after a big race.
Yeah.
But like you see 3 people back there doing it. Like I was the only one at Colonial. Like it's, you might not get anything, but you can't get there if you're not, you can't get it if you're not there. So it's just like going back there, and I got a really cool moment of Riley watching the replay for the first time, and he was completely by himself on the backside, and it was like an awesome moment. Like, and you can't capture that unless you're there. So I think it's less about like technical composition and technicalities and more about like being in the right place at the right time, but also not leaving that up to chance and being really strategic about, because once you understand the cadence of an event, you can kind of understand where you're going to capture those moments. And it just takes someone who has an eye and a knack for being in those spots.
Yeah, I think like what I kind of take from that is it's just what is human like will kind of transcend, like the
100%.
like just as I feel like as we get more cyborg with like everyone, you know, outsourcing their, psychology and replies to their boss with AI, it's like I think the more human stories we can tell, kind of the better things will be. I think that's one of the unique things about sports in general, whether it's horse racing, golf, basketball, or any sport, is it leads to so many different like human stories of the people that are competing, the game itself, the race itself. Like there's so many like storylines within storylines that make it like this epic drama.
Yeah. There's
So
no better theater than sports, truly. Like I don't watch TV, I don't watch movies. Like I watch sports, and it does it for me every time.
yeah, 100%. I guess like on that point, like how did you grow up a horse racing fan, or at what point were you kind of introduced to horse racing?
I don't know when I was introduced to it. I know that my buddy, shout out Jared Matz, his uncle Michael Matz was Barbaro's trainer. Jared was my golf partner. We actually were on the phone yesterday. Um, we played golf together pretty much every moment we could from like 7th grade through the end of high school. And I knew his uncle had trained a Derby winner. I didn't know a ton about the Barbaro story. Then I knew more about the Barbaro story, but I think I like casually watched the Triple Crown races in like 2012, 2013. Like I remember California Chrome is probably my earliest memory. Um, and then yeah, fast forward, I saw a posting about an internship at the Kentucky Derby, 2021 Derby 147, and I got it, and got myself there, had an awesome time, and here I am now doing Breeders' Cup and Derby, Pennsylvania Derby, Virginia Derby, all kinds of stuff in the racing world. So it's hasn't been lifelong for me, but it's been really fun, and I think it's been cool. As I'm sure we're going to continue talking about, um, trying to do my part in like fostering in some new faces and new fans into the sport.
100%. 2021, who won that year? Do you remember?
It was the DQ year. It was Mandaloon,
Yeah.
and then or it
It
was
was
Medina
Medina
Spirit,
Spirit and became
and then it
Mandalorian.
became Mandaloon. Yep.
So, like, I had a run there, so, like, I grew up, like, I would go to the track one time every single summer,
And
and
what
then
was your home track? Was it
Monmouth
that? Yeah, Monmouth. Okay.
over there in Oceanport. I still never been to Parks. I gotta get to Parks at some point. Um, but
Come on, PA Derby Day.
when is PA Derby? I already have it.
September. You booked what?
I already booked all this travel for, like, almost, like, through the summer. I'm like, I'm going to Churchill these 2 weekends to go see a horse. Then I'm in Saratoga these 2 weekends. Like,
September 19th. I'll see you in Philly. I have a guest bedroom in my home. You're welcome to stay here. It'll be great.
be careful what you
September
wish for.
19th.
I might just show up. Be careful what you wish for there.
Listen, I got plenty of space.
Yeah. But, like, I grew up, like, casual fan once a summer, then freshman year after college, like, freshman year of college, got super into the handicapping. I've always loved stats. Like, I was the kid that would sit in front of the Yankee game with the book and do the book and try to create stats and stuff. So I've always enjoyed numbers. So horse racing kind of latched on to me then, and then I went to Triple Crown events, and I feel like my first few derbies were just, like, all nonstop. controversy. It was the DQ of maximum security. Then it was COVID year. Then it was the
Medina
Medina
Spirit.
Spirit one. And the third year it was all right. Like nothing controversial happened, but the longest shot on the board, 81-1, Rich Strike
Yeah.
won it. And honestly, like Rich Strike, that story for me, that kind of without Rich Strike, I don't know if First Rodeo exists. It kind of proved to me that like, hey, like this sport is gettable for just about anybody.
Yeah, that's awesome. Fun fact, if I knew what the Eclipse Awards were, I think I have a photo that would have won an Eclipse Award that went out on Derby, like on the Kentucky Derby socials, of Rich Strike with his groom and Eric Reed's daughter.
Bro,
You have it
I
pulled
dead
up?
ass think that's my literal background on my computer.
No
Let me
way.
find it as I have it's my work laptop I'm recording on. I'll
Oh my
fire up my
God.
first laptop, but I'm like 95%
Oh
sure
my
that
God. Could you
photo is
imagine?
legitimately my background.
Could you imagine?
I
We
think it
have to
is.
see for the people.
I got goosebumps now. If this thing fires up, we can show you live here. But that to me, God,
Wow.
that was a great photo. That's
And
what
I
a
knew
small world.
nothing. I knew nothing. Like they were just like, "Hey, you're gonna be on the track. You're gonna walk back with the horse." I took that picture. Wow,
That's fucking crazy, bro.
that's
That's
unbelievable.
crazy. That's one of my favorite photos of all time, bro. It's like
Wow,
it's like the way Richie's looking at him and the human connection of it.
it's
Like,
unbelievable. Well,
wow.
A, I appreciate you, and I owe you a beer next time I see you.
No, I you with me, bro.
Well, we can have a few. But I remember seeing like there were a couple comments on that tweet that were like, this is an award-winning photo, and this is, and like I don't think at the time I understood the gravity of it. Um, but now I should get that picture framed in my office, but B, knowing like you said, like what the human connection is and like anything is possible in the sport. It's literally for everyone. There's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of bullshit that goes on that like, you know, if Mike Rapoli with his money can't figure it out, probably you and me can't figure it out. Um, it just finds a way. It's like golf. It just keeps you coming back. Doesn't matter how frustrating it is. Doesn't matter how many times you hit it in the water. It's just like you're gonna keep going to the track. You're gonna keep doing it, and yeah, man. Wow, I can't believe that.
That's
What a
actually
right turn
wild.
onto this. What a right turn into
That's
this
wild.
episode.
It was my phone wallpaper for a while too. Like that's an all-time photo
That's
for me.
unbelievable.
But yeah, like to your point, I think like horse racing, like there's a lot that it could improve on, and we'll get into that in a second of like
Oh
what
God.
some of your ideas are. But like the way I always describe it is like it's really the only sport to me where like you go to the horse track and you become the star of your own movie. Whether you came in with $10 and you're betting $2 a race, like for those like 2 minutes, like your $2, you have a horse, you have a dog in the fight. Like, yeah, like the sports books are out there and like, yeah, you can bet money line or this or that. But at the end of the day, like you could also like hedge your bet, like, oh, double down, but arbitrage. You can't do that
Yeah.
in horse racing. It's like you got your dog, you got to ride with it for those 2 minutes. And like when you get it right, it's like you said with golf, like you get one right a day, like horse gambling wise, I guarantee you want to go back.
Well, I think you're onto something with this movie, and we might have to talk about that offline. About being the star of your own movie.
I've
We might
got
have to
I've
flesh
got
that out.
I've got a list of all these ideas for like content and stuff that I can't like not talented enough to get out there. Yes, I might
We'll
have
be in
reached
touch.
yeah, I might have reached out to, the jockey club and they basically told me like I was like, "Hey, you got free access to all these events for us. Like, here are some of my ideas. Like, happy to collaborate. Like, where you see fit." And they pretty much just like stuck their hand out. They're like, "Yo, if you want to pay us, we'll come do it for you." I was like, bro, like I was just offering on my ideas,
Yeah.
and he's kind of like shot me down and just asked for money, which was crazy. But is what it is. Is what it is. Is what it
That's
is.
what it
Like
is.
on that note, I think I'm curious, and one thing we typically do like on this podcast is we usually talk about ways to improve the sport. Like the goal for First Rodeo is to make horse racing as popular as NFL. Then I pause and then settle on MLS. But what are some of your ideas to improve the game?
Well, I don't want to make any enemies. I like to think I'm very neutral. I like to think I'm a very, I'm kind of like a neutral actor right now in the sport. Like I'm not, my parents aren't in it. My family's not in it. I have no ties to anyone. With that being said, I am my own person and I'm entitled to my own opinions. Um, I think it's a bit too complicated right now, frankly. It's no secret that like there's no true governing body of the sport, which is a huge problem. But again, I don't think that's one we can solve. The wagering system here in America, the way things have been going, check horse racing Twitter. I guess for the people that you're trying to get, they're not on horse racing Twitter. I would say stay off horse racing Twitter.
Yeah.
But if you find yourself on horse racing Twitter, you'll kind of see some of those problems. Dan Wolken from Yahoo Sports just put out a really good article about it. I talked to Dan on the backside. We had a really candid conversation about it at Churchill Downs. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of problems, but I think the North Star of everything should be to get like your mission to get more people involved. And I think the only way to do that is to make it as simple as possible. And, I'm really fortunate at Parks and with our team at the Pennsylvania Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association that they've empowered me in a way to bring my ideas to the table and they respect me as a fresh face with fresh ideas and someone who hasn't been there for 30 years and someone who is new and comes from basketball, comes from other stuff and is like they're willing to listen to me and let me implement some of my stuff. And I think at its core, you have to make a race day feel like any other sporting event. Like, I think of my girlfriend. She's lovely. She likes sports. She just spent a whole day with me at the PGA Championship. She doesn't know a lot about golf, but she likes the idea of going to a day and hanging out and eating food and having a couple drinks and hanging out. So I think you need to remove the barrier of entry, whatever that is, whatever people think that is. It's very difficult to say like we should have 10,000 people at Monmouth on a Friday. I don't even know if they race on Fridays. I don't
They
think that's
do.
really
Friday,
attainable.
Saturday, Sunday there, Mama.
Okay. Okay, good. But I'm just saying, like, lowering that barrier of entry and almost removing that barrier of entry, like, there's no reason that anything should be ticketed. Not that I think anything is, but like, you should just be able to go to the track. It should be very simple how to place a bet. Like, you don't have to change the wagering system. Like, I get there's probably reasons why it is the way that it is, but, creating content and making it so simple, which some tracks have done a good job at, and where it's just like, hey, do you have 20 bucks? Are you here for the day? Here is what we recommend you do to do it. And I've been in racing for what, 5 years? I still have no idea how the pick five works. Like I get it, but I also don't get it. Like I just wish without the gambling red tape and like all the disclosure stuff, like I wish you could talk to people about horse betting in the same way you can talk about sports betting. And I know it's just very like wishy-washy with like 1-800-GAMBLER and like all that stuff, but I think we would solve not all of our problems, but I think it would be easier to get young people into the sport if you could communicate with them as if like in the same way that every DraftKings and FanDuel ad is advertised to a kid my age. So I think at its core, that's it. And then because there are a lot of kids that like to gamble and a lot of kids, even if it's 10 bucks, like we're not trying to promote a gambling problem. But if you show up to a track where it's free and the beer is $4 and you show up with a $20 bill, you could have fun for 2 hours with a $20 bill. If you walk into a casino with a $20 bill, you're walking out of there in 10 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe less.
If you're like me.
At most casinos, it's one hand of blackjack. You lose, you're done. $20 minimum. But like horse racing, you can place a $2 bet. And like you said, you can ride the weight of the world on that $2 bet. So I think it's just making it more simple, making it more inviting, making it more accessible for young people. And then from there, enhancing the race day experience. Like I don't expect, again, using my girlfriend as an example, I don't expect her to fire up the Churchill Downs app on our Amazon Fire Stick and watch live racing on a regular day. Like that's not going to happen. But getting people back to the races, getting people to bet, getting people to have a good time, bring their friends, get dressed up, have a good time, and then we can start to chip away at those other things once we have the people back at the track.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the barrier entry. I'm always on here banging the drum of like, get us in the sports books, get us in the sports books. But even before that, I think to my earlier point too, of like kind of just, grow what you got so far. Like there's so many times when I'm leading somebody around the racetrack for the first time, which I've probably done like 100 times now at this point, and I physically have to go with them to go place their bets because there's a lot of anxiety around it. Like the screens definitely help, but even the screens are confusing. So like I wish they would just do something with the screens where it's like you go up to it, okay, do you want like the classic format or like the easy format? You know, it's like just something as simple as that. Like you go up to the screen and like, all right, you got like what I want, which is the advanced, like, I know where the buttons are at, and I could probably do it in my sleep, and, like, you know, the player like, the beginner-friendly version, and it's kinda just like, "Alright, you just win, it's only for the track you're at," like, you kinda make it, you know, a lot
It make it
more
idiot proof.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think there's a lot to be done there too. I think the on-track experience, to me, I feel like is the number one issue plaguing horse racing. I think there's some tracks like Turf Paradise has done a good job of like kind of turning their things around and like, all right, like they give $5 entry fee, but they raffle that off. So incentivize people to stay the full day to see if they win the raffle. So it's like, I think we need to get people to the racetrack. And honestly, like we even like with First Rodeo people, where it's like some people have given me like $2,000 and I'm still like begging them, like, yo, like come to the track. Like it's much more fun when you come to the track.
Yeah.
So it's like it's difficult, but I feel like once you get people there and you get them to these, you know, the tracks are definitely like that do a good job of getting people there. And like it kind of snowballs, you know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
you know, like the best golfers, the best caddies, and the da 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 da. Like there's opportunities. It's like once you start getting people to the track, like it kind of people want to be where people are at. You know, you want to go to the crowded
Yeah.
bar, you don't want to
It's
go
an
to the bar.
event.
Yeah,
It's an event. And
yeah,
that's like for PA Derby this year, like we're gonna bring in an in-venue host and we're gonna have like giveaways and engaging stuff and like an awesome DJ who plays the hits. And it's like just give people what they want. Like it's going to be a beautiful day in September. Like racing doesn't happen in the cold, and when it does happen in the cold, it's not like a big race day. It's just like a track that's running. But the big race day is like it's an awesome day out. It's the same thing as going to a festival or a farmer's market or a day party, whatever it is. Like people like being where people are, to your point. So I think it's just enhancing that race experience. And then, they go once and then maybe they want to go again. And then, for people that are in Philly, they have a good time at parks on that one Saturday, in September. Maybe they book a trip to Saratoga the next year or crawl before you walk. Maybe you're going to the Haskell. Like it's not rocket science. Like we're very fortunate in this part of the country, because it obviously, if you're in Kansas City or wherever you are, like if you're not near a racetrack, it's going to be harder to get into horse racing. But if you live near a track, they just need to give you a reason to come.
yeah. And that's like
Is the way I feel.
the geography part thing is like both the opportunity and the scary part of the fact that like all these tracks are closing, so we're kind of losing touch points with people. But you also have like the duality of it of like you got a brand new Belmont Park going up in on Long Island. Like that's a great opportunity for horse racing. Like who kind of knows what it could be if it's kind of done right. I've seen
Yeah,
some vendors, seen some things. Like I think they've done a good job of like, all right, like creating some spaces for people to have like some exclusive areas and like some, GA areas. Because to me, I think one of the most fun parts of the racetrack is it's like a very natural place to like go up to people, like meet
yeah,
people, like you're with your friends, like you're interacting with other people. Where it's like sometimes you go to like the bar and everyone's in their little corners and like don't get me wrong, I love a good dive bar, love sitting in the corner with just the homies, but sometimes you want to branch out and talk to people, and it's like a very natural, like, "Hey, who do you like this race? Hey, like, I'm betting this horse. Who do you like?" Like, there's very natural opportunities to like interact with like other people too. So I think like the racetrack's doing a better job kind of selling that and
yeah.
getting more people to the track. I think could go a long way.
Well, it's tough because everyone wants to sell their premium hospitality. So when you start selling hospitality and you're in a suite with 16 people, you don't get that. But for the regular racetracks that don't have hospitality, that is a draw. That is a draw of it 100%. Like I saw the pictures from Monmouth. Like I'm fired up to get there this summer. I've never been. I'm a South Jersey guy. We have a place in near Atlantic City, and I was never old enough for AC Park, um, or whatever they called it, Atlantic City Racecourse. But I'm fired up to get to Monmouth. It just looks like a awesome way to spend a day. So I think you hit the nail right on the head. And
We'll be there July 4th weekend. We're kind of deciding on a date, but we're gonna picnic Grove. So if you don't have July 4th plans, you want to pop down with the girlfriend.
I think we're trying to do America 250 in the city. but but on my radar for sure. Are you gonna be at the Haskell?
I haven't gone in a few years. It's probably a no because I feel like I have other travel around then.
Let's
Uh,
keep it as a maybe.
we'll keep it as a maybe.
Okay,
I'm
we'll keep.
due. Like I've kind of missed the Jersey Shore summers the last like 3 or 4 years, which is like criminal because I feel like I'm in like prime Jersey
Yeah,
Shore bar era and I'm kind of just squandering it. So I kind of need to force myself to get on the Jersey Shore at some point this summer.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like, I think that's. Are there any other like stories you want to tell, or do you want to get into rapid fire here? I think that's a good point for us to stop off here.
yeah. I think this was awesome. I think grow the game. I don't know if I have any other like big stories I want to tell. I think you were there with me at Virginia Derby. It was a great day. I've been lucky. Like I've had a lot of awesome race day experiences, and I think I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to deter people. But I've been very fortunate that all of my experiences in racing have been like fun, awesome, positive, with awesome people. And even though I'm working and I'm not drunk with my friends rooting on my horses, um, I am still having an awesome time. And you feed off that energy even when you're working. Like Virginia Derby was awesome, Breeders' Cup was awesome. Obviously, like not really the same vibe at Breeders' Cup, but still beautiful weather, big races, awesome storylines. Like it was awesome. So I've been really fortunate that like all of my day of race experiences have been great. And I think like you said, and I think that's awesome that you've shepherded like 100 people around the racetrack. Like I hope to do the same thing because once people see it, they're like, oh my God, like those horses are so big. That's so impressive. Look how muscular they are. Like, oh my God, I can't believe the ponies don't get spooked. Like, there's just so much stuff that, oh my God, the jockeys are so small. Like once people are there, they realize like how cool it is. It's just getting them there for the first time on a great race day, and then they're gonna come back because it's fun. And even if it's once a year, like again, crawl before we walk. Like if we can get people at the track for an annual Haskell trip, an annual Saratoga trip, an annual PA Derby trip, an annual Derby, like, they talk a lot about it at Churchill Downs, where it's like, if we could get people to throw a Derby party, like maybe we could get them to come to the Derby eventually. But like them watching it with 30 of their friends and having their own mint juleps, that's almost just as valuable as them, being here because they're still engaged in our content. They're still engaged in the event. They're upping our TV numbers. Like it's all good. Like like everything about this is good. People just being into the sport, whether they're there or they're following it. And obviously those bigger events are easier to follow, but you know, I wouldn't mind some of my social clubs finding some phones in different parts of the country. That wouldn't bother me at all.
100%. I guess like on horse racing related, one of the questions I had written down here is there like a golden goose for you in terms of like a story you want to tell or an event you want to cover?
Story I want to tell, I think every year, like the Derby is such a unique venture because it's like, um, there's a storyline at every turn, and then there's also scratches at every turn. So you could be doing all this work in like March to do storylines, and then half of them might not be in the field. I will say like the Bill and Riley Mott thing this year was super cool. Shout out to my homie Robin Schuler. She hot walks incredible for Riley. She's Riley's aunt through marriage. But like it was so cool, like getting old photos of Riley and kind of painting that picture of Bill and Riley. The Cherie story was unbelievable to tell. I hope I did it justice in my piece. Uh, just telling a very small portion of that triumphant victory, but I think every year the Derby has a story to tell, and it's been cool. Like especially this year doing Virginia Derby on the road to the Derby, then doing the Kentucky Derby, and then my involvement with Pennsylvania Derby. It's like, okay, who's still going to be a relevant 3-year-old? Maybe who's going to be not like Triple Crown level, but maybe just below. But like, look at Baeza from last year. Like looking at what he did and his resume, and I think a lot of casual fans don't really like. A lot of casual fans wouldn't know about a horse like Baeza, but to get into the Derby field, to run in the money, to do it again in the other Triple Crown races. I guess he only ran in the Belmont, and then to do the same thing in the I guess it was the Travers.
Travers, yep, and
Did
he
the
was
same
shooting
thing in
that
the
in Florida,
Travers. And then
California.
he wins. He wins the
Yeah.
BA Derby. John Sheriff's, rest in peace. Like,
Yes.
nicest guy in the world. Like, didn't even want to be in the winner's circle. He wanted to give all
Literally.
the credit to his team. Literally was like halfway down the racetrack when they took the picture. Nicest guy in the world. Like the groom, just like the funniest. We did a clip of like the groom letting Baeza play with his foot like before the race. Like it was just such a wholesome story. And then to see him run in the classic was so cool. And then obviously John passes and then he runs in the Al Yeshiva Churchill. Little controversy there, but you know, he still ran strong. Now they're pointing him to the Stephen Foster. Like it's so cool. And like there's so many horses in this game that you can just follow their stories and everyone's a little different, but like I don't know, man. Baeza's my homie, and it's been cool to like follow along, not to tell his story because I think my days of telling that are done. Unless he beats Sovereignty and the Stephen Foster, then we'll be having a different conversation. But like I think there's just stuff like that in this industry where you can get it other places, but I don't think it's as common other places. Like there's all these success stories in college football where it's like, oh, this kid was, you know, not recruited and then he went to JUCO, then he transferred, and now he's, you know, a top 5 draft pick, and that's awesome. And those stories exist. But in horse racing, like, and I think you can probably speak to some of this as well, especially with the caliber of horses that you're dealing with. And that's not belittling you by any means, but also like every horse you get your hands on, I think has a very unique story. And I would imagine that for someone as invested in as yourself, following where they were before they got to you might be just as exciting and like fun digging down that rabbit hole as it is when you have them and when you're running them in your own silks.
Yeah, I think part of the cool part about it too, and honestly, it's an idea that you can steal for like a content piece too. Is
I won't steal anything without credit.
all right, I don't really care. I'm like John Sherrick. As long as it's going the game, I'm cool with it. How many people a good horse touches? You know, like a good horse like Baeza. All right, you start from when it was bred. Okay, you had the breeder who picked out the breeding. Then you had the person that foaled it. Typically, there's like two other people there. Then you had the person that like raises a foal. Maybe it passed through the ring, so a consigner now cares about it. And then there's the person that raises a yearling went through another yearling sale, then got raised as a 2-year-old, and a bunch of people like, taught it how to be a racehorse, brought it along training wise, then was sent to a trainer. All along those like path. That was like 7 touchdowns before they ever raced. And then like you take that, okay, like a good horse matters to the person that's in charge of that operation, plus their employees, plus like their whole family and friends. So it's like a good horse like Golden Tempo touches so many people's lives, It's like it's so cool to
Yeah.
think about like a good horse, like, and there's people rallying around it, It's like all of a sudden, like you got all like 200 people that one might be a billionaire micropoli, one might be, like just immigrated to the United States and was just like the groom for the horse and was a yearling. Like they are on the same team, hugging each other after the race. Like to me, that's like part of the beautiful part of the sport too. Is we rally around something greater than ourselves, your strong belief
Yeah.
in the power of the horse, and then you're all equals too. Like when those gates open, like the horses don't know what they cost. The person your person that's next to you is rooting for your horse. You don't care if they have $1 on it, they own the horse, or they got $100,000 on it. Like
Yeah.
that's your
It's the
guy for those
same.
2 minutes.
It's so crazy. And it's like with how much of a game of chance it is, like especially when you're at that level and you have Derby fever, like Mike Rapoli, he's over 12 in the Derby. Like the fact that he has as much money as he does and he's as powerful as he is, like you can't buy your way to the top in this game. You can try, you can get close, but like you can't. It's all game of chance. And to your point, like, could you imagine how hard it would be? Like if I was like, all right, I have an investor, someone to fund this project. We're gonna go pick a full buy, insert your favorite mare here. Could you imagine spending 3 years with that horse and the likelihood that that horse gets into the starting gate on the first Saturday in May? I don't know what the percentage is. I'm sure there's a percentage out there, but it's like got to be less than 1%. Even if it's, I'm sure when Torpedo Anna starts breeding, that's gonna be like, oh my God, what is this horse gonna be? You never really know. But like that would be awesome. But it's just so hard. And I think that's what keeps people coming back is because even when you have so much firepower, you can still keep trying to breed and trying to buy and trying to get him into the race. But without luck on your side or whatever higher being you believe in, like it is hard to get in that first Saturday, the gate in that first Saturday in May, let alone in the winter circuit.
I mean, Godolphin literally like he's the Sheik of Dubai. Like he has unlimited
Yeah,
money. And it was until last year, like some guy claimed racetrack for 30,000 and won a Derby before him. You know, but
exactly.
they've got a
Unbelievable.
global operation, and
What a game.
some that's why it's the greatest game going. That's why it's the
What a
greatest game
game.
going.
What a game.
All right, let's close into some rapid fire questions because I could
Let's do
yap
it.
about horses all day. All right, I'm gonna try to mix up some horse racing questions and some non-horse racing questions.
Okay.
First one is, what is your favorite racetrack?
Churchill
Good one. All right, favorite non-horse racing sports event?
Masters.
Solid. Is there a favorite podcast, like podcasts, favorite piece you've done, whether it's like long form, maybe one long form piece, one short form piece you've done?
The Derby piece I did this year, Golden Tempo, last to first. It's on the Kentucky Derby YouTube. Go show some love. Short form, man, there's so many of them. Fun piece that actually keeps coming back to me. A guy by the name of Saul Cumin, Matticat Stables. I interviewed his son. Like, I had no idea who the kid was. I interviewed his son for like, I think it was Derby 150 or maybe 149. And it was like just this 13-year-old kid, like telling me about the horses that they had in the coming race. And it's kind of funny that every time I see Saul, we talk about it. And it's funny on a few fronts. So that's probably one of my favorites on the Derby Instagram.
Love it. And then favorite racehorse of all time?
I don't know if like I can't say favorite, but I would say, wow, I'll give you three. Baeza. I never had a relationship with Smarty Jones, didn't watch the Smarty Jones derbies. I was like 3 years old. I've never met Smarty. I hope to soon.
Hey,
I'm going to
Brad.
make a trip out there. But Parks, Philly boy, was rated by Philly Mag as like one of the top 10 Philly athletes of the last century. I think he was ranked number 4. So Smarty Jones is on there. And then I think Barbara, I think, again, didn't watch his derby, didn't really know much about it, but my personal-ish connection to it and just like how he captivated America, I guess, Barbaro. So Barbaro, Smarty, and Baeza, the boy.
Love it.
He's just, yeah, PA
All
Derby
right,
champ.
last two kind of introspective questions. First
Okay.
one is, when you hear the word successful, who is the first person you think of?
I don't know if I have a person that comes to mind. I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs that I admire, and my dad being one of them, but also the fact that he sends me Instagram reels like every 5 minutes about people who are entrepreneurs and who are, finding success. And I think, Mike Rapoli actually just put out a clip about this. Like, I think when you can, whoever it is, when you can come from a place of uncomfortability and you come to be successful, I think those are the people that I admire, knowing that it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily something you kind of just you found your way into. Like you got to feel it a little bit, you got to choke a little bit. My dad says you got to feel it before you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I don't think a person, but anyone who has been an entrepreneur and felt the struggle and then have made it out of that, I think those are the people I look up to.
All right, last one is, you're still a young dude, but if you had to give young Brian advice, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Keep going, keep doing it, keep the door open. If they give you an inch, take a foot. I've done that for the last, I don't know, my whole life, and I will continue to do that because you can't get anywhere in this world unless closed mouths don't get fed, to use another one. So that's my advice.
Oh, yeah. It was a ton of fun, Brian. I'll do it again, Stan. Appreciate you joining me.
Appreciate you, brother.